Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Dr. Teresa Fuller joining us here, our integrative holistic pediatrician, better known as Dr. T, also the owner of A Healthy Tomorrow. Welcome back to the show today. How are you?
I'm great, Jill. How are you?
I'm doing well. Excited to have you here as a doctor, as an author, as you helping so many achieve health in so many different ways. So let me just have you do a quick introduction and we'll get right into the topic of focus for today.
Sure. I'm an integrative holistic pediatrician and run a program called A Healthy Tomorrow. And our focus is really getting out into the community,
Mm-hmm.
helping people to achieve optimal health. I'm a pediatrician in the office working every day. And what I find is that there's so little time in the office to really get into the nuts and bolts of a healthy lifestyle, do the best we can in the office. But to really get the information out about healthy eating and healthy habits, I'm trying to use a healthy tomorrow to go out to where people are, whether
Yeah.
they're at work, whether they're at school, in their religious organizations, so that we can really take a deep dive into the different aspects of health.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for being here. Tell us the website.
The website is drteresafuller.com. That's DrTeresaFuller.com. And I do have information on the website, as well as an opportunity to sign up for the mailing list. Really trying to use different ways to get the information out there.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Let's get started.
Yeah, so I wanted to, this is May, if as we're recording this, and May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And last week we talked a little bit about specifically anxiety in children and anxiety in general. But I was thinking that, there's so many different aspects to mental health. And so talking about basically the foundations of a brain healthy life
Mm-hmm.
is what I wanted to focus on today. And that will encompass that helps us to address mental health disorders, as well as some of the more, not so much in the mental health area, but things like ADHD and that type of thing, which, ADHD being so common in children,
Yeah.
that if we talk about kind of a roadmap to brain health, we really will address the mental health um, challenges like depression and anxiety and even irritability and violent behavior, to the ADHD and autism. All of it, while they're all different illnesses, they are they do have some commonalities, and there are some things that we can do to help. It may not always we don't expect it to necessarily be the full
Mm-hmm.
answer. But what we want to do is we want to, create building blocks. We want to do as many things as possible to support brain health, and
Mm-hmm.
that will address all of these different conditions.
Right. And speaking of brain health, by the way, that's one of you talk about so much, but I just want to tell everyone about your book as well. Just could
Yes,
you just mention it quickly?
yes. Change one thing. Change one thing. A doctor's plan for permanent weight loss, disease prevention, and incredible health. And Change One Thing is set up as a book, a roadmap as well. It's set up as 12 different habits. Now, it's called Change One Thing because you're changing one thing at a time. You take a month and focus on one healthy habit. And
Yeah.
in a month, usually you can really secure that habit. You can kind of make it, take it from a new behavior to a habit. And then
Mm-hmm.
you move on to the next one. And as you build on that, after 12 months, in a year, you really have a completely different lifestyle. You have a much more
Yeah.
healthy lifestyle. You will have seen many changes in your health, in
Yeah.
your health numbers, everything. And so, and I originally wrote the book because initially I was making those changes and I saw the healthy results of that. And then I started to research it and really distill it down into what does the research say about a healthy diet and other healthy habits like sleep and stress and that type of thing. And that's what is in the book.
Thank you for that. All right, we appreciate it. Let's go back to the topic, but I know brain health just kind of sparked a little bit. We forgot to introduce you as an author as well. So let's continue down the path. What other things do you have for us as far as brain health is concerned?
Yeah, they're really, I think of it as five foundations of brain health. We have to feed our brain. We have to stimulate our brain. We have to do things to give it and by stimulate, I mean give it the stimulation that it needs to really thrive and function and grow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we need to, I say, um, give flow to the brain, give oxygen. And that would involve exercise. And so, we can just touch on a couple of these. We won't have time to go into all five, but we can touch on a couple of these and give people an idea of what they need to do. We've talked a lot, certainly, about eating and eating for health in general. Whatever you do for your brain health is going to address everything. It's good for your heart. It's good for every organ of the body. And so when we talk about eating for brain health, we I'm finding that many of our children are eating so much processed food, which are a lot of empty calories, and not only empty calories, sometimes toxic calories, because
Mm-hmm.
along with those processed foods come a lot of things that cause inflammation, and the inflammation affects the whole body, including the brain. And so what we find is that sometimes some of this irritability that we're seeing, or this lack of focus, this hyperactivity, these types of things are because there's a lot of inflammation in the brain and not enough nutritional support. And so while, if we focus on, parents can focus on certain types of food, definitely at least enough fruits and vegetables a day. Even starting there would be good because most kids are getting one or two servings of fruits and vegetables a day, whereas at the minimum you need five to really get enough of all of those different nutrients. And certain ones we know are healthy for the brain, such as B vitamins. So
Mm-hmm.
B vitamins, I like to think of those as the batteries, B for battery, because they
Yeah.
give a lot of energy. They kind of support the energy processes of the cells in the brain and elsewhere. Magnesium is important. Zinc is important. There are a lot of good studies on those nutrients, as well as vitamin D and omega-3 fatty acids. Now, some people will know where to get some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Omega-3 fatty acids, most people will know fish are a good source, but also um, walnuts are a great source.
Mm-hmm.
Pumpkin seeds and chia seeds and flax seeds are a great source. So it's not just animal foods, there are plant foods for that. And B vitamins, green leafy vegetables, really important. A lot of parents say my child won't eat green leafy vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
and if that's the case, there are some ways to mix it in. I love the book Sneaky Chef. That is a great book where the author has, I believe her name is Lapine, and has come up with recipes for getting those greens into your child in a way that they won't ever detect. And that's what we have to do, whatever we have to do, right? So those are some of the foods that you want to have your child eating to support brain health.
Got it.
And so much more we could talk about with food. But again, even if you start with getting those fruits and vegetables in every day, that will give a big boost to nutrition, feeding the brain. Yeah. And but that's not the only thing we need to do. We need to one thing, we talk about exercise, very important. One thing that we don't talk about enough that I think is important is when I say stimulation, stimulate the brain.
Mm-hmm.
I find that a lot of kids are not really getting the stimulation that they need for that, kids are naturally curious and they're naturally fast learners. And, when you see really young kids, 1 to 2 years old, little toddlers, they're into everything, right? We always talk about they're busy, they're pulling down everything, they're touching everything. um, we can kids can continue to have that kind of interest, but we have to stimulate it with
Yeah.
things like, having opportunities to explore. So as they're getting older, making sure they're getting some time outside, getting some time in nature. Um, Speaking of that, one of my favorite books is Last Child in the Woods, in which the author talks about a nature deficit disorder, because there's a lot of research on just being out in green spaces. There's so much opportunity for kids to learn and um, to really follow their curiosity as they're just learning how to what these plants are, what these trees are, climbing, problem solving out in the woods. So I mean, it doesn't have to be the woods,
Yeah.
but but it can be somewhere natural, and that sunlight is important. And I really hope, what I want parents to think about is just that there are so many ways to expose children, and that stimulation is important, especially now when we're spending so much more time. Our
Yeah.
kids are in front of screens, and they're getting very little real stimulation. Yes, there's some, there's certainly some benefit to that with good games that they have to do problem solving, but we want them to have a variety of stimulation.
Love
Yeah.
that. Thank you. Well, we still have just 3 minutes left in the show, unfortunately, for today. I know it's a shorter show. How did you kind of want to sum this up?
Right. Well, I would like to tell people about a conference that we're having coming up, the Generational Wellness Conference. I would like people to know about that. If you're in the Baltimore area, you certainly are free to come by. I have a link on my website, drteresafuller.com, in which you can sign up for it. We're going to talk about brain health. That's one of our major focuses, is being brain healthy for life. So not just for kids, but all the way through elderly years. And then we're going to have a speaker who's going to talk about juicing. And so, and I'm really excited about that, because that's another way to
Yeah.
get a lot of nutrition into your child. Maybe they don't want to eat the vegetables, but if they drink them in a juice, we're talking about fresh made juices, not store shelf juices, but these juices that are concentrated in nutrition. So we have a whole presentation on juicing. And then our last one is more like a comprehensive talk about fun and faith and fitness for the family. And
Okay.
that's going to be with Dr. David Bowman. The juicing presentation is Michelle Kutcherman. So it's going to be a great conference, and I hope you sign up. And if not in the area, hopefully we're going to be able to put that online. That's the plan, and it'll be
Perfect.
available on the website.
Great. We'd like to hear. Thank you so much. And tell us the website and how we can reach out to you.
Yeah, the website is drteresafuller.com, and I'm also Dr. Teresa Fuller at Instagram and on Facebook and on LinkedIn. So you can reach out to me different ways.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure having you here and looking forward to the next time we get to connect.
Okay, thank you so much, Jill.
Thank you. To all of our listeners, please stay tuned. More of the shows coming up after the break. Thank you again, Dr. T.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.